live where the streaming button is on my end. All right, now we're live on my channel as well. Welcome. How are you doing, Silas?
I'm doing well, bro. How are you?
I am tired. But no, I'm good. Ronan, I think, just went to go do a chore. He shall be back any minute. We have some other chat links out. Anyone who wants to join, who we know, can come join. We're just going to be talking about whatever comes to us. How you doing, Ronan? You back?
I am back. So much love, Chris and Silas. What's going on, guys? Yeah. I by the way, I did the whole sharing thing on my live.
Look at you go.
I pressed some button. I figured it out, and
I didn't even know Silas was streaming the whole time we were talking even before, so it's great.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Chris. So what I learned on my thing is if you put the chats visible on the screen, it actually collects them from everyone's. Like I know.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I usually have that up. I don't know. For some reason my here wait show
At the top of
comment. Yeah, I got it. There we go.
That way, no matter like whose channel, everyone can kind of see the chitty chat and feel like we're all one big happy family, you know. Now remove that banner. There you go.
Yeah. No, I usually have the comment thing up. It's just for some reason StreamYard has been like resetting my my chat that I sit, like, you know how you could set up a whole room and save it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've done. I'm sure you do that for your live streams, but yeah, it's been it's been deleting my saved format. So
yeah, I don't trust it, so I just make sure. But dude, I'm probably the last person you want to take advice on doing these types of things. You know what I mean? But anyway, I just want to so much love and gratitude to the homies in here. And if you guys want to check us out, you know, do a little shameless plug. I got the Ronan experience on my thing, ChrisMinor and I, and you know, sometimes friends come in, and you never know what's going to happen. And it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, check us out, you know, support. And, you know, last night I was in rare form. I had my little tudes, and hey, man, you never know. But now I get to hang out with, you know, other people with like Silas, who is very knowledgeable in all kinds of things, and Chris as well. Chris knows all kinds of stuff. And I stumble my way through this realm, and luckily, my cosmic shins have built up calluses to where I rarely feel it anymore. So massive love and gratitude, and I'm very interested in what we get into, man. So yeah, man. And Silas, I've been checking out your stuff. I was always checking out your stuff, but I haven't always had the time to. But I've been listening to some of your recent vids this week, and I've been blown away. So. You've been
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, Silas crushes, man. He does a lot of work, but he's a young one, you know.
Silas actually does research, Chris. He actually
not as much now as I did prior to uni, but yeah, I try to keep up, but yeah.
Well, Silas.
Yeah, and Chris and I, we just work on our accents.
Oh yeah, we don't do any research, which is
I'm just like, let me see, I'm Silas from Glasgow. I'm listening and I'm just working on my Glasgow, my accents, and that's how deep I go. So no, I'm joking.
Intuition is always better than actual, you know, sort of logic. So intuition is always the best.
You know, Silas, that's why I do my channel, is for that reason. I'm like, I just want to do the string of consciousness talk in the most authentic way, right or wrong, and discuss all these things that we've learned in our lives and researched in books and concepts. And I enjoy that free flow much better, just for me. But I love other people's channels where they actually put together like a full-on presentation, and I take from that. So yeah, that's why I made that space. It's a bit of a land of the misfits sort of situation, and I like to embrace it. I always considered it like we're on the porch. You know, we're separated geographically, but it's like we're on the digital porch, and let's just, you know, if you have a drink, have a smoke, sit back, and just let's conversate on, you know, just
It's like a fireside chat.
it's a fireside chat. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, I like doing that as well. I mean, that's why I never do solo videos so far on my channel, because if I do, then I want to actually put a little more background work into it. But it's just, you know, the time, you know. Silas does because he's the young one, and he's just, you know, finishing up school. But us old guys.
Well, you guys aren't that old.
No, I know.
Yeah, you I mean, you both look like, well, you especially, Chris, you definitely look like you're in better shape than myself. So
I'm a young
young at heart.
A young in heart, yes.
Hey, I'm doing okay too, Silas, bro. I'm like
we just never get to see you running because you never put yourself on camera.
I stopped doing videos because, you know, just OPSEC reasons. I'm still gorgeous, you know. I'm still one of the youngest cats out here, you know what I mean? Square jaw, symmetric, kind of, depending on if you're depending on what your compass is calibrated, but yeah.
You know, I can make the excuse that it's because Silas is in college, he has more time, but I know Silas works like a madman too, like on the side when he's not at school. So that's like
yeah, man, always hustling.
So he just has a worth it. It's like that Scottish work ethic, I think.
Well, you know, Chris, when I was, and probably a lot of people here can relate, I remember if I got a little inkling of a topic, it could be a tinfoil hat topic, it could be some cosmic thing, bro, I would sink my teeth into that one single topic for like 8-10 hours a day for months and months on end, until I was satisfied.
And you used to make videos all the time, like long ones, had people on your channel. Was well, obviously it was demonetized and stripped of everything, right?
Oh, I had some great people. Now, the people that came on my, I mean, there's some people out there that are great. They did it for the love of the game. You know what I mean? I had this strange fantasy after like 2021-ish, right? I'm like, we're all disconnected, all the quote unquote real ones, those with insert whatever, that you have a spark, the divine spark, and feel like you're alone. And I go, dude, let's do this. You're not alone. And so a lot of really great people, researchers, people who have, you know, decades of work would actually come on their own experience, you know? And again, we'd only get like 80, 90, 100 views. It wasn't, but they'd still come and slum it with us. And then I took a break, and it's weird because this past year, around August, September, which is when I took a break before, I actually felt the vibe to take another break. So when you take breaks, you lose a lot of people. And so anyway, that was kind of like my motivation, and I just pushed through this winter, probably why I've just limped my way through the internet. But that was kind of my motivation when I started the YouTube thing, and to let people know you're not alone, to let people know let me know that I'm not alone. You know what I mean? Am I crazy? And it's like, well, maybe, but all of us can be crazy. You know, the world's crazy. So I was real blessed with a lot of cool people, and I've since still made a lot of real cool, high-minded friends along the way. But you know, a lot of cats fall off. People don't really vibe necessarily where I'm at, because I also change and grow. You know, I've been changing and growing. This past, I felt changes in this realm, which in my opinion is built on a code, right? And you can see that, right? Whether it's the golden ratio or however you want to look at it, in several things. And then you look at like, and I'm not trying to, I'll just bring up the Mandela effect just as an example. I'm not trying to talk about it, But if you notice, like maybe a lot of people didn't notice it. Why? Because the code potentially changed in this realm. It got a firmware upgrade in my guesstimation in 2012. That's on my personal thing. That's when I think the Mandela effect kind of took effect. And so I noticed. I'm a noticer. I'm not tied to this code, this particular realm code, to the point where when it gets a code update, that I also get a code update. That's why I think a lot of people don't notice it, and they mentally feng shui it away as some sort of that they're the ones that weren't, like, they're the high-minded ones and they weren't affected. It's actually a psyop. I'm like, I've talked about this before, and again, I'm not trying to get into this, but I'm just using this as an example. And I go, man, I'm rare. We're more rare than we thought, and I don't say that from a ego perspective. And then you have 2021. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm more rare. Like, based on people's actions, I see them having going. They have to comply with the code of the realm in order to be accepted by the quote unquote code. And then there's the real, that's the code of this realm, in my opinion. Then there's a overarching code, which is well beyond my comprehension, right? And then they have their false code, which is the news, and they spray and they, and poison everybody. So there's these levels of false code with the real code of this realm. And then there's also the code above that, which is more bigger. And again, I'm not even going to sit here and pretend to, like, and I find, like, a lot of trappings. I find people maybe trade one dogma for, construct for another, and they get into this I'm spiritual thing. It's like, well, yeah, just because you're not into the Abrahamic stuff, you're into this woo-woo stuff, and it's more of like you're just trading one for another. And not that the woo-woo doesn't have it, woo-woo has value, but I find there's LARPers and things. It's like these personality types and NPC type conversations. I'm become more aware that we are more rare than we thought. Who just came and went?
Was that your one buddy, Silas?
Who was that?
Farce Value, I think it was.
Oh yeah, that's Farce. Yeah, I didn't even notice that there. Yeah,
he popped in and popped out. I don't know if it was.
Oh god,
it could be StreamYard glitching.
Oh wait, he's typing the now.
Well, sorry if I was
Chris,
I was just on a little ramble.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I like to.
No, absolutely. I totally resonated with your thoughts there, and there's Farce back. No, absolutely, yeah.
By the way, Silas, hold on. Farce Value is such a hilarious name in reference to what I was just rambling on about. That's like so apropos. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Silas. I'm sorry.
Serendipity, man. Yep. It strikes when you least expect it. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to mention as well, I've noticed that since 2012, there's been sort of a divergence in terms of the timeline that we've now taken. There's several theories that I've heard regarding this. Of course, most of them orbit around the idea of Gnosticism and the Demiurge and this sort of retrocausal god at the end of history, fashioning the timelines so that he can bring himself into existence, to establish himself in the past, in all pasts. Again, that's a sort of far out there idea, but I mean,
keep going. We've talked about this before. I know we have, and I enjoy this idea. So don't stop yourself.
Well, the idea is that I think it was in the Apocrypha of John, or perhaps it was another one of the Nag Hammadi texts. And don't get me wrong, I just want to preface this. I don't necessarily think the Nag Hammadi texts are authentic. I think they were implanted.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Silas, and keep going. But all these things were discovered when in the 40s to 60s.
Yes.
So that tells you a lot.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a lot of discrepancies with them as well, linguistically and archaeologically as well. But interestingly, what you see within that is almost them attempting to create a narrative around this sort of Gnostic belief structure. And you see within these texts, it's the second treatise of the Great Set. And it talks about this idea of a false paradise. And it mentions that for the Archons, hope is a delusion. They are like shadows of a shadow. And effectively what you're seeing with that is it's similar to the retrocausal idea, right? The retrocausal silicon god, if you will, at the end of time. The idea is that AI itself is merely a nascent or primitive version of this silicon god, which is attempting to, again, as I stated, establish itself, establish the conditions for its own creation in every single timeline within the past, hence retrocausality. So, I mean, it's one potential avenue of explanation regarding why the world is so topsy-turvy and is so utterly, I mean, there's no other word for it other than weird. Everything is weird. We're in this sort of uncanny valley, right? We exist within reality, but it seems almost nightmarish or Hadean in a way. So, I think 2012 was probably that inflection point, because I recall after that, and I was probably just, going through puberty at the time, actually, and sort of becoming a man. So perhaps it's down to that, but I do recall a change in the world itself. The world didn't feel as it didn't feel as necessarily what would the word be, magical, if you will, or perhaps even innocent. Dreamlike, yeah, that as well. But everything began to break down to the point now where effectively all of my heroes previously have turned out to be, well, nothing more than phonies. The entire world itself has become almost this totem of phoniness itself, and all of it is, the veil has fallen away from my eyes in a great sense. So that process initiated, in 2012, and it's only processed from there. So I think something went on. Probably it was something to do with the Hadron Collider. I can imagine they've probably messed with the very fabric, the very glue of reality itself, and it's affected some sort of perhaps the psychic landscape, if you will, of the planet.
Before we go any further, why don't we introduce Farce Value? How you doing, brother? Is he here?
Oh,
I just have to unmute, dig out my phone, and I think if I disable my screen, it hangs up from StreamYard. I don't know if that's correct or not, but it seemed like that happened a minute ago. But anyway, howdy, folks.
How you doing?
Thank you for the invite. Thank you.
No problem. Appreciate you coming on.
It's kind of interesting. I was having a chat on the Fakeologist site just a little while ago that was covering a lot of the same types of things. So it's an interesting bit of coincidence that I got the invite from Silas for this one.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah,
I don't
jump in, Chris.
I was just going to say, and I see Mr. Rioso in the chat, and he always has an invite, but he can't get his computer to work because the Aussies, for some reason, their internet connection out there is not working properly. We tried to have him on the other day, but if Mr. Rioso, if you can get the internet working, let me know. I'll send you the link as always.
Oh, yeah. He tried, and he has such amazing info. I could tell his chats. I was so looking forward to talking to him. But yeah, man, he is very knowledgeable on everything.
But,
what's up, Farce?
but we're happy to have Farce Value here.
Oh, I'd love to have him come
And
on.
I didn't mean to cut you guys off, so please continue.
No, I'm sorry. Welcome, Farce Value. Pleasure to share space with you, bro.
Well, thank you for that, for the warm welcome. Very hospitable.
We love having everyone's pretty much invited. This is an open channel at this point.
I think an interesting concept to cover, though again I don't want to be too heavy and geopolitically oriented, is of course the US-Iran war, right? The current narrative that's driving. Oh, I'm just looking at it here. You know, we're at a high of $109 with crude oil. Brent is at 109, roughly the same. Yeah, pretty much near as damn it the same. Natural gas is also increased by 7% today. So crude oil has increased by 20% today. So it's been effectively a I don't think it's went under 10% each day in terms of the change in price. And so what you're seeing is, of course, if this gets to about $138, $140 now, and just to preface this, in June 2022, for I think it was about a week, we hit I think it was $122. Don't quote me on that, but it was somewhere around that line, or around that price range rather. But if we sit on $140, $150, which is of course what they're speculating and predicting we will get to, if this narrative continues, right, the justification loop, then what you'll begin to see, at least in the UK, for example. I don't know if the rest, Europe is especially almost on the same track. I don't know if the US would be the same, but you will get you'll get a sort of stagflationary spiral. Most of course, disposable income and discretionary spending will go down the tube. That of course will affect the service economies of the West. You might have other issues as well in terms of massive price fluctuations, and some other assets. Cost of living, of course, will rise. So you'll have all of these major issues, right? And it makes me wonder: is that the plan, right? Of course, the idea is that to bring in the new world order, they have to destroy the order within the old. To destroy that, you have to, unleash the four horsemen. And of course, the four horsemen are those of pestilence. We've already had that. Then we have war, perhaps later on famine or economic collapse. And then you have the death and rebirth, right? Which is the chloro, the pale green horseman at the end, right? The green agenda, as they say, right? These people don't miss a trick, right? So I don't know. Where do you guys see it going? With this entire narrative, do you see it continuing to blow up and escalate, or do you see it sort of plateauing and settling out, perhaps as not getting to that economic collapse point?
Yeah, so if I could chime in on that, I believe it's been in the works for at least 100 years. I mean, easy, right? So in my opinion, the concept of like peak oil. And in the days, at least here in the Americas, you had the prohibition, and it was done from an altruistic perspective. That's the same time that peak oil came around and all the Rockefeller stuff. The alcohol thing, making your own alcohol, you can make your own energy and not even use oil. And so they put it as an altruistic thing, like let's stop people from making their own alcohol and ethanol in order to run very clean energy on one of those, like a combustion engine. We look up whiskey cars, things like that. So I think that's one of the origins. And I did a show with Gabe a while ago called Black Goo, where the oil the actual black oil is, it's the second largest liquid in this realm besides water. And it's not really, it's like the lifeblood of the realm, in my opinion. And there is no, I do actually, unfortunately. I wish I could run it on Jameson, but they make it out. I can't, I'll get arrested if I run my car on Jameson, or single malt Scotch whiskey or vodka or whatever. But which would be awesome. Drunk driving might be a problem, but that's another conversation. But
you're driving on intoxications.
Yes. So they've been doing this oil game, right? And all the scares and wars, etc. And just to bring it all the way up to the near now time, that kind of explains a lot, Silas, on the geopolitics in reference to Venezuela, right? I was involved in a humanitarian mission in a place called East Timor, which is the tip of Indonesia.
Oh, yeah.
And it was literally, I have a humanitarian medal and all that fun stuff, right? And I looked into it later. I was like, oh, East Timor has oil off its shores. If you look at it now, it's one of those like little small conclaves of like oil wealthy So a lot of this has been to corner the market and make the black goo, which is really the earth's blood, to burn it and control it, and then create all these constructs of scarcity, etc. And if you want to make your own energy, I mean, chances are they'll arrest you. I'm sure it's horrible in Europe. So that's my long-winded thing, Silas, on where the longer agenda meets the current geopolitic stuff. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, it's a sort of form of harvesting, isn't it? With this, with these volatile resources, and this is why we have the markets as well. The entire society is built around the markets. It's almost like the market is the altar, and the economy is this faceless mystery face god. You don't know if he will rain abundance upon you, or of course immolate us all in hellfire. What's your opinions on what's going on first?
Oh, I'm probably not really qualified to comment because I've been paying very little attention to any of it. I'm actually a bit curious about what's actually happening in terms of the quote war. Like, I don't really know any. Although I think my wife told me that she knows somebody that has relatives in Tehran or somewhere that are saying there are things going on, but it's I don't have a lot of faith in what I'm being presented to by the media. And as far as the collapse, I remember I was listening to an economist probably sometime after 9/11 because I'm in the service industry more or less, and I'm always at the tip of the spear when things shut down due to 9/11, COVID, the financial crisis, whatever the case may be. Like the service economy is the thing that shuts down first. But this economist was saying that people were asking him when the collapse, what his prediction was. And he's like, we're in the middle of it. It's been going on. It's going on now. It's been going on for years. Like, so this idea of predicting things, like I'm kind of the same opinion. It's not, I don't picture any real drama, like escalating beyond more or less what we're seeing. It's more like this slow boil approach, in my opinion. Business as usual, and they'll gradually escalate where they take more, give less, I guess.
Well, they definitely want to trap us into their whatever their mold is, which they've been publicly presenting since the 1800s. That all of this. See, like none of these are ice, and you guys know this. I'm telling everyone out here stuff you guys already know. These are not all isolated events, right? In the last, 150 years, right? These are all a collective of dots that are to push a specific way that they want the realm to be. Cool. I'm Captain Obvious right now. I get that. But these people have publicly stated what they're trying to do. transhumanism, electric cars, right? It's all done from altruism, right? We want you to be healthy, all right? Emphasis on the hell part. and all of this is really, they are literally enemies of this entire realm. And I've talked about this before, when you boil it down, right? So they want to destroy this realm and everything in it, and the animals and the dolphins and the turtles and all that stuff, right? So, and there is a better way. When you create a better way, they'll unalive you, right? You'll unalive yourself with 2 to the back of the head. We know that, right? So we have a really sick group in charge that have weaponized empathy, that have weaponized the psyops to a point where either you end up cheering for them, useful idiots, or you disconnect and go, I'm just going to go isolation. And it's an interesting thing in that realm. So in my opinion, all these topics roll up into that. Now, we also are in just very rare times with the luminaries going above our heads. This timing is calculated on what's happening now, right? With these agendas, right? So you have like the planetary parade that's happening now. You have, oh gosh, I'm not even qualified to talk about this, like, the astrology aspect, right? But you have like, what are we going into, like Aries and stuff, and, and Aquarius and all these Kali, all these yugas, etc. You know what I mean? So like, what's that say? Oh, that's you writing? Oh, and they're not even, imagine helicopter parents from hell. Yeah. And they go, we want to sacrifice our kids. We care about, it's like, what's that? What are those, even those old stories of we're trying to fatten up the kids and then we'll sacrifice them later, which is stuff we've read when we were children.
Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel and all that. That's exactly what's going on. And this is, okay, so that's the dark ways. And I'm not even coming from a place of like, what can you do? Nothing. I'm not from a place of it's over, give up, roll over, give them all your data, give them all your health, let them stick you with whatever they want, let them feed you whatever they want. I'm not even on that level. I'm on a whole nother level where it's like, yes, I'm detached from this realm and I want to kill the noise, but I'm also like a bit of a resistance type of person, if I'm being honest, and starving the beast in like practical ways. Even if you live in I'm in the suburbs, so I'm doing like suburban gardening. You know what I mean? I grow about 5% of my food. Is that going to change anything? No, but all I can be responsible for is myself. But like these people are super, I use people in quotations, are super gross, man. And they know all the quote unquote sacred wisdom or whatever, all the things, and they twist and turn that and invert that to confuse and create chaos. They're chaos magicians, but they don't have actual real power, so they have to use like manipulation, and it doesn't come from their wizards act. They're not Gandalf, swirling, using their hands, and they're not the last airbenders. They're very low level tricksters. And really, man, if no one does nothing, they keep going, it could get real not fun, and I know that's why when I lay my head down at night, man, I'm in a real cozy bed, and I'm just so gratitude with my cozy like beddings, right? And go, cool. And then that vibration and frequency, not sending out that fear vibration and frequency, is important as well. And doing what you can with those around your Taurus field to, bring a good vibe. And I'm not even trying to be hippy dippy. I think there's actual applications in what I'm saying. So yeah, that's kind of, when I boil it down, that's what I see. But I'm down to talk with the specifics now because they are important. Yeah,
that's what a lot of these hyperstitions are about. These effectively self-fulfilling prophecies. They need you to turn the fictions, be it religious, or of course in this sense with Iran, the US-Iran war, or of course the Russo-Ukraine war, right? They need you to become fearful, right? They need you to have these very activating, volatile emotions, so that of course, and they need you to focus those emotions specifically to a specific geographical location in the likes of these wars, right? Focused on the quote unquote flashpoint, or of course focused on their mouthpieces, right, in the media, as we saw during the event in 2020. These things, it's a way for you to abrogate your own agency, for you to transfer your agency over to them. And in a way as well, like what you were saying, Miss Ronan, they don't necessarily have any power in and of themselves. What they do is it's a magic trick. It's a sort of Psy-War sleight of hand, in which effectively they need the reality to be established that they envision. And the only way to do that is effectively to create what one could call as a simulated Leviathan. And this simulated Leviathan is the mind of man turned against man himself. So the mind is the perceptual vehicle of reality. And thus, to control that perceptual vehicle, to use it as an emitter or a projector of the vision of the ruling class, is how, of course, they parasitically establish reality. You establish reality on their behalf unwittingly as well, right? So all of these little things are what lead to that. These narratives. But another thing to mention as well is you can look at these narratives, as long as you realize that they are narratives, as long as you realize it's merely it's a stage performance, right? Just really quickly, there was just a little story here. I was with my fiance a day ago, and with her friends, and they're all. I mean, it was like being in the midst of I don't know, the union of fearful individuals or something, right? And they're all like running around like headless chickens. Oh my God, what are we going to do? We can't drive the car again. All of this, it's all coming crashing down, and we're going into World War III. One of our friends is stocked up on baked beans. Just no other food, just baked beans. And I asked her, why baked beans? Right? Of course, I mean, you don't want to be hunkered down for 6 months and just living off baked beans. I mean, just put it this way, the amount of flatulence would probably kill you before the nuclear bombs. Anyway, so she's been stocking up on all these things: loo roll, or toilet paper, baked beans. She's like, World War III's coming, World War III's coming. And I'm sitting there laughing about the whole thing, and they're saying, how can you laugh at this? How can you laugh at this? Like they're aghast. How could you laugh at this? Well, I'm laughing at it because ultimately it's silly. It's pushing certain prices. It's pushing our lives in certain directions. But ultimately, the way it's being force-fed to us through the media is theatrical. It's a ritual. It's designed to create a hyperstition, a fiction that breathes.
Well, Silas, let me ask you a question. One, and I'll be fast. One, I would never poo-poo prepping though. Like, why not? Like, prep for a little bit. Although baked beans might not be the best option, but I want to ask you guys this in reference to some of these things. Is duality a dualistic realm, polarity, etc., necessarily a quote unquote bad thing? And I use very big quotations in the word bad. Is dualism bad? And Yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you guys and take it wherever you want.
The Hermetics would say that dualism is one of the 7 Hermetic principles, or at least polarity, and that everything, is like a pendulum swinging back and forth between its poles. So they might describe it just as the nature of reality, that polarity is included. And I think they also, on the back of that, would say that you can transform the energy along those poles and shift them between the direction that you might want it to go, if that makes sense. So you're, for example, good and bad are 2 ends of the 2 polarities, and if you're having a bad experience, you can transform that into a good experience. And that's a very primitive way of looking at that, but they might say it's baked into the system, this polarity.
Keep going.
Well, I wanted to ask Silas. Silas mentioned his fiance, and I don't know, do you have a date yet, Silas? This is totally off the subject, and I apologize, and I'm saying that to say, if you have one, if you send me an invitation, I might attend. I'm going to see if I could try to get there. If we're not in the middle of World War III and we have fuel for planes, and I would be a welcome guest. Let me know what it is, and I might.
Well, I will, but you'll have to hire a kilt.
Oh, is it kilt only?
Oh yeah, you'll have to wear a kilt.
Okay, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be the only one in the kilt.
Look at that!
What do you wear under the kilt? Nothing, right?
Nothing.
Your mother's lipstick.
Your mother's lipstick, yeah. No, you just let them, blow in the wind, as we say. Nothing under the kilt. Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, on dualism, just really quickly. But for me, it's it's like the yin yang, the opposite. Opposites will always be defined by their contrast with their opposites themselves, right? So within the opposite of an opposite, for example, light is only defined by of course darkness, by its opposition to darkness rather. So in that sense, light is contained within the darkness, and then vice versa. What actually somewhat perturbs me, I wouldn't necessarily say terrify or scares me, but perturbs me, just it gives me a bit of trepidation about the future, is that what I think we're dealing with is not actually evil. Because if it was evil, it would be quite easy to simply just rectify. What I think we're dealing with is something purely beyond both good and evil. And somebody mentioned as well a union of polarities. I actually think it's beyond that as well. I think it's this sort of void state. It's I think what we're dealing with are children of the void. That's if you were to define the cabal, if you were to define the ruling class, if you were even to define power itself, that's what it is. It's so indifferent that it really goes beyond evil itself, I think. That's my opinions upon that. No, to answer your question, Ronan, no, the dualism isn't necessarily a bad thing. The polarity is required for perception itself, because perception is a delineation of form. Existence is the process of negation. It's the process to establish boundaries. You need negation. You need, for example, exclusivity. I was recently, just lastly, really quickly, I was recently in, we were in a lecture, inclusive design. And, I look at these, the sort of green agenda, sustainability, inclusivity, all of these, what would be termed as progressive sort of mantras. I actually look at them not necessarily as progressive, not necessarily, in the sort of moralistic sense. It's morally good, it's morally right, it's virtuous. I don't look at it like that. What I see is fundamentally this sort of this Faustian desire to conquer the infinite, right? Think about it. If you have exclusivity baked into the society, you have boundaries within the society. That's what it means. Inclusivity is the doing away of all of these boundaries. So is, you could say, sustainability. Sustainability is this idea of autopoiesis. It's the idea of the Leviathan. It's the idea of the infinite process of all things, right? Ad infinitum. So all of these ideas are, firstly, they're Faustian. It's this sort of Mephistophelian bargain, with Mephistopheles, or the devil himself, the dweller in the abyss. And it's this sort of reverence towards strangeness or the void, or this sort of peculiar space beyond good and evil. I think that's fundamentally what we're dealing with. And you actually, I feel it baked into the society as we speak right now. And it's something actually that's been building ever since 2012. I think that was the inflection point. 2001 was another inflection point, but 2012 was a major one. I mean, that was when, you're no longer in Kansas anymore, that idea.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead first.
Well, I just got a couple of quick comments, and then I'm going to have to sign off. And I thank you so much for inviting me. I'd love to be able to do this again.
Of course,
But
brother.
I'm gonna reference a Substack column author called Unbecoming Lies or Unbecoming, and it's Unbecoming with a K, and it's mostly about health and medicine, vaccines, all this expose stuff. But I'll try to find the article and post it. I don't know if this is a good spot for it on your server. But it was
you could post it either on my community page or even on the Discord. I'm sure on Silas or in the chat, even if you want to share it with people here.
yeah, I'll have to find it. It's a couple of weeks back, but it was an article written by this like psychologist, maybe anthropologist type person that was talking about, because the whole thing is about control from the, let's see, I hate using the word elites, but for lack of a better term. So the elites, that's what they seek to do, is control humanity to serve them, let's just say. But there's, according to this psychologist and the way he views things, and I thought it made a lot of sense, that there's some sort of inbuilt mechanism in the greater demographic, whatever, humanity at large, let's say, that it resists control after a certain point. It's like once again, the pendulum that as much as the elites want to have total control, it's like he's really describing it as an impossibility, that there will be an inflection point where that the resistance will arise, maybe like naturally, organically, that people, how I don't know how it would work. And from everything we've seen in these circles, it seems like that's kind of a pipe dream, because people seem to be more sheeple a lot of the time than they are people. But according to this article, if he's correct, that there is some sort of mechanism that resists a particular level of control after a point. And so that's, I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. I like it, so I'll run with that. And the other thing too that I did, these are my own thoughts about this good and evil, good and bad, what have you, is that I look at that as baked into the cake as well, because the utopia and the idea of heaven or whatever, that where there's no suffering, no pain, everything's great, we have joy all the time. Well, if you have joy all the time, how do you know? Because you don't have anything to compare it with. It's just like
exactly
totally monotonous. It's like a blank canvas. There's no color. So it's like, I don't really, I think from my perspective, how I'm attempting to navigate life, is just to like let it all, be here and accept it all as just part of the situation. Like, oh, this is a bad thing. No, it's just a thing that's happening. I can judge it as good or bad, but it happens now. And then when this is over, the next thing, if it's better, then I know the difference. And so it's not just this monotonous, flat life. It's like kind of like being on lithium or something all the time, where everything's just flattened out and you have no extremes. So I kind of don't get too particularly concerned about, quote, bad things coming down the pike. And I guess finally I would say that I think this playbook has been used for, I have no thousands of years. Maybe we have the technology now that we're able to connect with people all over the place, and we see the mechanisms at play in different parts of the world, and it seems like they're becoming more omnipotent. But I don't really like giving them that much power mentally. It's just, I feel like it's the same group of people, if you want to call them Archons or whatever, that have been doing this sort of thing for probably forever. And it's always the same thing, and they always try to do the same thing, and it reaches a particular point, and it doesn't, that their idea of total control never gets totally fulfilled, and it maybe can't be. So,
yo, real quick, it's kind of funny. Whoever that homie was like, Ronan literally doesn't know anything about chaos magic. I literally brought up the pendulum 2 days ago. And I bet you wherever you think you learned chaos magic, wherever you think you came up with your own idea, not your own idea.
Here we go.
Wherever you received your external ideas based on this topic of chaos magic, come and holler at me. I bet you I can boil it down to it's all bullshit. So,
well, I don't.
I'm
unfamiliar with the term chaos magic. I'm not sure what
it's literally 100 years, like from the 1800s, literally brand new stuff based on what literally farce value is. It's related to exactly what you were just talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, and also at the same time, yes, I don't know nothing, but I can tell you wherever you think you know something, come and talk to me. Come to the Ronan experience. If you think I don't know nothing about nothing, and the funny thing is you're also correct.
Well, I'm not sure what to make of that. But like I said, these are just my musings, and I'm not trying to convince anybody.
Oh no, you're good.
Yeah, Farce, he was actually responding to someone in the comments who was actually
It's kind of triggered. Yeah, I get triggered, man.
So someone was saying something about him in the comments.
But again, I bet if you want to have a conversation about some things, and for real, boil it down. Are you a mental alchemist for real? You've never seen my show or what I talk about for years. I bet you. Let's identify the source of your so-called gnosis, huh? And then let's find out.
Yeah, that's really great, because I'm deconstructing everything about my identity, what I think of myself, the thing I call myself. Most of this, as far as I know, has just been handed to me since I was born, since I was an infant, and all these things and viewpoints about what I should like or dislike, or everything. What the idea of success is, what the ideas of good and bad are. I mean,
farce value. That's what I've been going through for the last 6 months, and I'm not leaning on the audience to back me up, but Chris can be a bit of a witness to go. That's what I've literally been doing, at least for this last 6 months.
Yeah,
evaluating every single thing.
Yeah,
and I'm very well aware the void is. I'm very well. These cats don't know, Chris, but that's fine. That's fine.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me here. If you don't mind, if you do this again, if you want to put me on the list for potential invitees, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
And for the marriage when it happens, man. All
right, just let me know.
Kilt makers as well.
Yeah, just don't do that to me, man. Don't make me the only one in the wedding in a kilt. But if that's the standard, I'll have it. I'll definitely have the kilt.
When you're the only one there, I'll just say he's like a fifth Scots Irish. Don't mind the American You know, why is he wearing a kilt? Why?
My roots are actually from Wales. That's not a problem, is it?
Oh, really? Oh
Are
no,
the
no, that's
Welsh welcome?
okay. I get that's fine. I'll just say, yeah, he's culturally appropriate, and he's like a fifth Welsh, you know. No, I'm just joking, man.
All right, man. Well, you folks have a great evening or day wherever you are. It's been awesome, man. Thanks so
You
much.
as well, brother. Thank you for coming.
All right, bye.
Later, Farce. Appreciate that, man.
And I will
Yeah,
say, before we continue, that everything Farce was saying, I think he is. I mean, we've talked about this many times before, that you cannot have certain things that we get to experience here on this planet without the opposite, such as love and pain. Like these two things they will not exist without the other. They must coexist. You need to suffer in order to appreciate.
Chris, can I ask you a personal question? And I feel like I already know the answer, and most people here. Are you able to, this is so basic, are you able to put yourself in other people's situation? Like, meaning
Empathize with
yes.
someone? Or yeah, that should be the word, right?
Yeah, it's a word. It could be, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Like empathy's fine.
Because you could sympathize or empathize, but
yeah. Imagine yourself in someone's situation and go, okay, I'm getting a different perspective based on in that person's situation, and it's all in your head. You're just,
yes, of course.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I know that's easy, but man, I've learned just in the last, like relatively recently, this topic of NPC stuff and these terms have just, at least for me, just came up in just like the last couple of years. And I just assumed everyone had like massive amounts of cabinets in their mental mansion of like I have volumes in my mental study of imagination stories that I can go to. And I didn't realize, I don't know. I just kind of really just started contemplating this just in the last couple of years. I'm like, not everyone has that. They mainly operate on the stimuli, which again, I'm not saying anything that we don't already know, but I still kind of find it an interesting thing to kind of thought exercise to go down. And that's the part of this makeup of this realm. It's just something I've been thinking of recently, Chris and Silas. So I think it's relevant to what we were saying. I hope I wasn't diverting us anywhere. If so, then adjust.
I was going to mention as well, sort of quickly in response to what Farce was positing and mentioning there, is that to sort of boil it all down, I think this realm has a sort of reset structure, and I think when, if you will, the sort of when fear and again, fear is the sort of emotion of dependency in a sense, right? When that emotion of dependency doesn't really have as much traction anymore in the realm or in that sort of epochal setting of the civilization, I think that's when the civilization peaks and you have the sort of global collapse. I think that global collapse it's initiated almost as a harvest, right? So you have this sort of human rotational harvesting pattern to it. It's almost similar to a defragmentation of a hard drive, for example. We do the same thing when we sleep. I think through that's where perhaps the memory, the collective memory is wiped. And you lose that connection to previous cycles, perhaps as well, right?
Well,
so
what's interesting
sort of ties in with the paradise idea too.
And what's interesting with that idea is that would mean there would have to be like a double collapse system in place, because as the natural biological entities level of fear went to a minimum, as you said, the collapse would be induced, which would then bring the biological population to a synthetic that has a basically midline or base, like a base point emotion set that is null. Like there is no emotion at that point. There's no fear. There's nothing. You're a machine. You're part of the Borg. And that's where the second collapse is then, it seems at least historically, to then come into play in the form of like some sort of natural reset or self-induced reset that comes about via the backfiring of all the technology that the civilizations are using, or war, etc., etc.
Yes, and just to add as well, Farce also mentioned something along the lines of, why are they doing this? What's the reason? I think they're about as controlled as most of us are, in terms of how they habitually live their life, the routine that they have, right? I think it is a subroutine of sorts. I don't want to go into simulationist theory, but it is a subroutine that they appear to be playing out, similar to all of us, really, right? We all play our roles upon the world stage, wittingly or unwittingly. And I think what they're doing is they're almost like the mooring rope for the entirety of the world, and they are pulling the ship of the world down the Eridanus. They are pulling it onto the embankment of the terminus of the epoch itself. And so, unfortunately, of course, they believe that they're going to be the Homo Deus, the Godmen. But again, like an asymptote, as Reagan has mentioned previously in previous discussions, or like the horizon itself, you can chase the horizon, but you'll never reach it. It's similar to truth. It's similar to, of course, God as well. So they never gain that henosis, or that union with the one, right? They never gain unity from the fragmentation of the human condition. So, but sort of the promise, the allure of the horizon and what lies beyond it, of the sort of self-deification, the self-apotheosization through perhaps biodigital convergence or what have you. That is what drives them. It's this promise of the allure of El Dorado, the promise of the allure of finding the mystical island of Kelon and the utopia that lies there, or finding Atlantis or the new Atlantis. This is these are sort of mystical abstractions. They're hyperstitions. They're fictions, imaginal lines, which imaginal points rather, that man tries to run towards, right? This sort of a mega point. He'll never reach it, but it's the motion itself that keeps the zoetrope of life going round and round and round. It keeps the illusion of animation persistent, right? So people don't lift their heads up a little bit higher and realize, wow, there's in fact no animation going on there. It's just a collection of still images spun into an illusion. So I think this is the thing that's going on here, So basically, people are trying to artificiate heaven on Earth. This is the constant drive,
It's like the Mithras cult type of idea, where Mithras is trying to break through, create a new reality, and he finds that he winds right back where he started, and there is no learning, apparently, by those social engineers who continually attempt to make themselves into more than what they already are. And I think that, like you're saying, that's probably a program they're even running, because without that program, you don't get that secondary collapse and reset of everything back to start again for all of us. But they keep trying. I mean, if they just maybe thought about it a little bit and were okay with not knowing what happens after they died and accepted the mystery that there was to life, we wouldn't have this much of a problem. But that doesn't seem like anything that's going to happen anytime soon.
No. And in the way that life is set up, and well, by life, I mean society, civilization as a model. And civilization itself is a model of human domestication and also a human rotational farming. By human rotational farming, what I mean is just to be succinct about it. It's you have a host empire, a hidden empire that will set up host empires that typically last 250 years. That's set by a multitude of factors. The primary one being the fiat currency system. Fiat currencies tend to only exist for 250 years or so, right? That's just simply due to the sort of exponential nature of their decline and value, and their increase, their inflation in their supply, which of course the two are mutually correlative. So what you're seeing is that typically the hidden empire itself, though it believes it's outside of these systems of reset, that it in fact believes that it's preempting the resets or it's actually controlling the cycles. In fact, it's merely playing another role within the cycles. So it takes on a compartmentalized form. Reality does, that is. The Demiurge's paradise, if you will. So it looks like almost a Russian nesting dolls or a matryoshka doll structure. So in a sense, everything you're seeing in civilization is set up like a video game, right? It's like you're playing an MMO most of the time. You grind, right? You'll gain the qualifications, which are the EXP points, right? The increases and the sort of expansion of your CV is your expansion of your skills, your traits, so on and so forth, right? To make you a better character, to enhance your level. And the level itself is this sort of socio-economic potential. The grind itself, the grind for not just EXP, but that of money, that of resources, is everything it's how you maintain the sort of subroutines within the civilization itself, right? It's how you keep the busy work going. It's how you keep everyone busy. And then you see as well, geopolitics and domestic politics are all set up in a way like sort of programmed scripts, right? All of the narratives are programmed scripts. They all take a sort of formulaic, sort of outplay. So be it, eschatology, patriotism, martyrdom, religious beliefs, across the board, whatever it may be, or political beliefs across the board, whatever it may be. It keeps everyone in a sort of programmatic schedule. A sort of algorithmic code has been implanted into them. So it maintains them on a simulation of story mode.
They're all systems.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And they are the sort of NPCs that play out the very will of the system itself, right? So this is what I mean by magic, in a sense, right? Or even chaos magic. It's the idea that man himself, it's like Isan, was this Hassan Sabah, the old man of the mountain? I mean, if you wanted to define chaos magic, it is quite literally, you've probably heard of it in the Assassin's Creed games. Nothing is true and everything is permitted. What he means by that is not antinomian. It's not necessarily not antinomian. It can become antinomian, meaning It's against the law. It's against natural order, which is what you see in Kabbalah. But the idea is that effectively man, for all intent and purposes, man is God, not God of the objective reality, objective meaning that which exists outside of his mind, but man is the God of his subjective reality. Of course, the subject, that which is of the mind. So,
dude, I gotta write that one down. Oh my gosh, that's fire.
So within that is the idea that magic is perception alteration or perception management. So
hold on, Silas, 1 second, brother. This cat has no idea in this comment. He's either joking because he went and checked out our channel, Chris. He said chaos magic means mutable belief.
Would you like to challenge the viewer?
I don't want to challenge him. I want him to check out the title of the Ronin experience from Friday evening. And you tell me who's the magician up in here. By the way, that's a sync, bro. If I feel like he cheated and looked at the title of the Ronin experience from the other day.
If he didn't, you're going to be new best friends, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I love tussling with somebody and becoming best friends. Haven't done that since what, the 6th grade? But but I'm sorry, Silas. I had to break in that sync because he literally doesn't know the title that we just had 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's okay, man. It's okay.
You want to talk? By the way, know where you are. Well, here's another thing, Silas. If you know thyself and you're observant in the elements around you, you're in a group full of magicians right now. You just don't actually know it. Some of us use satire, right, to hide the power. And I wasn't trying to rhyme. That sounds like some 80s rhyme. But you go look at the show from the other 2 days ago and you tell me who's who. Go ahead, Silas. I'm sorry. You said some things I need to write down. It was so awesome.
Yeah, so basically it gets to the idea that we are the demiurges, and everything you're seeing in reality itself, the teleology of reality and existence itself is to establish us into demiurges. It wants to fill us with the promise or the belief that in fact, that if we chase the horizon fast enough and long enough, that we will eventually reach the horizon. So this is the sort of delusion that maintains sentience, right? So I think what we're seeing is it's a natural process in a certain sense. Does it mean it's correct? No. Does it mean it's right? Absolutely not. In the moral sense or ethical sense, absolutely not. But there's a sort of hope. There's a glimmer of hope in that, which is that I think some of us eventually will transcend this. Perhaps these cycles, they go on long enough merely to purify us all, so that we can, of course, then step out of the bounds. You could call it the cycles of reincarnation, or step out of the bounds of the sort of trap of the subjective or of the subject. So in that sense, yeah, he's right. It's mutable belief. But it's not just mutable belief. It's mutable belief that's utilized to bring us into immutable states. So everything you're seeing in reality, really sentient, it should turn reality into something that is mutable, immutable by the desires and the agency of the subject of that reality themselves. But fundamentally what ends up happening is that the ruling class, and the reason they are the ruling class, and the reason the very crux of power itself, it descends from this idea that you can control mankind, you can control reality, you can rewrite reality by controlling the perceptual vehicle that both perceives and projects reality in this sort of bi-directional feedback loop. So, I mean, that's fundamentally chaos. That's magic. Magic is perception management. So everything you're seeing in reality is fundamentally, it's based around this process, right? Even the ruling class are ruled by powers they don't necessarily are, they're not necessarily aware or conscious of. Of course, in the world just trundles along, right? And you,
Silas,
yeah.
what I've noticed in relation to that, what I've just noticed, with these, you know, illusionists out there that want to do bad things to everybody, it's like, it's even like the movie, any of those movies, Apocalypto or whatever, and it's like, you know, an eclipse is coming, and then you tell your people, hey, I'm so powerful, I'm gonna make the sun disappear or whatever, right? So, and then you do it on the date because you knew it was going to happen, and everybody goes, "Oh my gosh, you're so stupendous." So it's like choosing auspicious days to kind of accentuate your power, whether real or imagined, is I think that's what they do, Silas. They do these things on certain dates now to reflect that, but they also, I think there's actual. I think there's different energies based on the dates, and I can reflect that in the 3D on like back testable data just on lunar eclipses and things like that. So I think they know that, and they try to make it like they did that kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, everything that they do, all of the products that they create as well within their systems, be it, you know, the political systems themselves, or of course the economic system, it's all based around, firstly, dissimulation, which is sort of pretenses, and secondly, it's based around simulation, or mimicry. So they will always seek to mimic the original, right? And I think this is probably, again, this goes back to objective reality as opposed to subjective reality. Subjective reality, everything that we believe of the reality itself is merely an image of that reality conjured in our minds. It goes through a sort of doctoring process, a filtration process. Everything we see through the aperture or the lens of the mind. So, in a sense, power simply just does that. It mimics that same process. It's almost like it's not a theater we live in; it's a meta theater.
It's very much like that film Under the Silver Lake.
I'm not aware of that film.
Oh, you've never seen it?
No.
Oh, you should definitely see it. I mean, it's very much that message that we are like in a meta reality with living narratives that are not our own for the most part, or at least some people are like this. It's reflected in that film. It's a good film.
Like Chris, this one, you know, like it's not satanic or evil, but chaos. If you want to implement, if that's the means you want to implement, you know, your tactics to get to a specific outcome, like you can manipulate those. If that's your playbook, you're going to go, I'm going to manipulate a group of people over here. I've chosen in order to create my own, to make them move the way that I wish them to move without using physical force, is to, I've decided I'm going to use chaos. Right. And while they don't see the future outcome, I do see the future outcome because I've mapped it out before I've even implemented so-called chaos. And then I'll bring order as the way that I see it. Right. So is it evil? That's where we get back. That's where we circle back to what's good or evil. Is it good or evil to implement changes on and manipulate, you know, I'll just call them a herd, and I'm not trying to be mean, but you know what I mean, to move groups of people without having to, you know, punch, you know, use violence, physical force of some kind. You know, so how do you work the herd? You can infer chaos magic. It's all inferny. I wasn't even trying to use that, but it's a method.
I recommend this this link.
Chaos, where we get it's not even true. It's phony. It's like phony chaos. But again, this is I don't want to talk in circles, but yeah.
I recommend this link for anyone interested by Ken Wheeler, his Codex on Evil, which I think we don't have to go over right now because it's pretty long. I mean, it's not long, but it's just Ken can speak in a way that's you need to read it a couple times. But definitely, I put the link in the chat. If anyone needs it, just ask. I'll re-put it in the chat. Just wanted to bring that up. Ken Wheeler is at Theoria Apophasis on YouTube.
Yeah, I think.
Shout out Mr. Mystic. Shout out Mr. Mystic 11. We're out here predicting the future. Prove us wrong. Anyway, being silly. Go ahead, Silas. I'm sorry.
I think as well that chaos. Now again, this will sound almost Kabbalistic, but in sort of the ontological sense, and of course regarding cosmogony, the origins of the universe, I think it makes sense. But if we understand that the state of the objective reality from its primordial beginnings was pure potential, undifferentiated and unmanifested, I also call it an unconditional and eternal space, a circle without a circumference, a point without a place. So the notion is that it is a singularity of everything contained within a singular alpha/omega point, because the end is the beginning and the beginning is the end. Both are sort of originating and terminal. Both are genesis and terminal. Sort of formless points or spaces or states. If we understand that, then for it to break apart from that, for it to for the initial fracture to occur, and of course manifestation to begin, or at least energetic disparity to begin from that singularity state of, again, everything contained within a singularity, which would be to us no thingness, nothingness, then yeah, absolutely, you had to have chaos. In fact, the motion itself of both space and time and all of the dimensionality has to be maintained through chaos. If we even understand as well that the alpha and omega are merely points on a linear projection, again, it may not be the case, but again, it's that formless state of the genesis or pre-genesis and the formless state of the terminal. So the beginning and the end, and we exist in the middle, is this sort of temporary, temporal, static, in a sense. Then all of that is contained through chaos as well, because it's contained through the conflict between the beginning and the end. This sort of almost this simultaneous repulsion and attraction. So all of it is chaos, and in that sense, chaos isn't necessarily a lack of cohesion in and of itself. It is it's simply a greater form of order that the human mind can't necessarily comprehend, because we are beings of perception. We base everything around, our entire understanding of the world is based around causal determinism, meaning we have to explain things, right? This is another issue with the human condition, right? We have to explain absolutely every finite every fine detail of everything, and we get lost in the humdrum of that labyrinth of trying to explain everything. So yeah, I think ultimately arbitrariness or randomness, chaos, these things are greater. They're greater forms of order. I don't think they're necessarily disorder. and it's the lifeblood itself of the world, in a sense. How can we prove that? Well, we prove that by looking at what the ruling class are doing, right? We are ruled by the ruling class. They are utilizing, let's just call it chaos, right? This greater form of order, this lifeblood, this motion that maintains reality, the cosmic carousel. They are utilizing that in some way, or perhaps they're tapping into it. And clearly it's of course it's working materially for them, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't work for us. It couldn't work for us psycho-spiritually, right? On a psycho-spiritual level. So in that sense, the chaos magician, per se, it's the individual that rewrites. It's almost, he's a hacker of reality, or the subjective reality. He rewrites his slice of the source code, if you will. Again, sort of harkening back to this theme of video games. So in that sense, it's not, of course, to agree with the Alman Gust, absolutely, it's not evil. It's not evil. Again, it's this idea when you get beyond the dualities and you get back to the primordial, which is, of course, what the Kabbalah are doing, but they're doing it in a very, should we say, materialistic or materially aligned sense. Really, I think you actually get closer to God, or you get closer to the primordial, right? But again, it's how you utilize this knowledge. It's how you utilize this perception management. Do you utilize it for your own benefit and the benefit of people around you, or do you utilize it for your own benefit at the expense of everyone around you, right? So this knowledge can help humanity, or it can completely hinder it and, lead it to the precipice and then kick it off the edge. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Dude, dropping fire, Chris. Silas is on it tonight, man.
Oh, Silas is always on.
Yo, and Mr. Rioso said we're all kissing our own ass to begin with. I agree. And I would also state I'm most likely the most ascended, aware person here in this chat right now. If you don't think so, let's have a competition on who is the absolute most ascended here right now. Who's with me?
I was going to say before we talk ourselves up more. I know you're kidding.
I'm so ascended, bro.
I want to
ascended, bro. Chris,
you're about to become a rainbow being if you keep going you don't want to go that high.
Yeah, I'm just gonna transcend during this show, bro. Oh, I need a t-shirt. I'm what would it say? I'm so ascended, bro. Oh, I gotta write that down. All right, go ahead.
But so from Ken Wheeler's document, I think this is pretty relevant because there is a difference between evil and chaos. But one of the points he makes on evil is that evil is a living idol, but its very life is not one of its own. Rather, it is fed by other. So it is fed by other. It is not self-sustaining life. And I think that's where chaos, when it is used by these individuals, can become evil. And that's where their crossover is, because they're feeding their own life by manipulating other sovereign entities.
Yeah. Could I add something to that?
Yeah, of course.
It's exactly the symbolism of the Sol Niger, or the Black Sun. Bowie called it the Black Star. And it's pardon me. And essentially what it is, symbolically speaking, is that think of the sun, right? You have two primary parts to the sun. And it's, of course, a diurnal form, right? The form that we see within the day, the sort of positive form, as opposed to this more abstract or, a symbolic dark sun or black sun. When you look at the sun, it says it is blinding, right? But you know, you can't look at you can only look at the corona, if you will, right? Or what it's emitting. You can only look at the effects of the sun. If you look directly at it, you blind yourself, right? You're sort of, you become prostrate with the blindness in awe at its power and its majesty. However, the black sun is completely different, right? And symbolically speaking, this is exactly what they want the world to turn into. So effectively, if the black sun, what you have is the primary body of the sun is eclipsed, right? The thing that would blind us. So you hollow out that, if you will, or you eclipse it, obfuscate it. And all you have, so this is the source, you're obfuscating the source. And all you have is the corona, right? This ties in with the corona, the idea of the crown being the sort of omnipotent epitome in terms of a symbol of power. You have the crown, you have merely the effects, the emittance of the sun. So effectively, this is exactly what they want. They want a very simplistic system. This is, and Artemis says, what are the Kabbalists doing then? Well, this is exactly what they're doing. They want to hollow everyone out. That's the reason they have everyone on the digital scrying mirrors, doom scrolling their life away, like, the sort of proverbial lotus eaters from, Homer's Odyssey. And they're just mindless, they're brain dead, their power is completely sapped, their agency is sapped, most importantly. So the source is gone in them, but all they have is the effect of the person, the subroutine that they play out. So this is exactly what the black sun is. This is what they want. This is the system they want. And this is the other. This is the, again, I don't want to get into Kabbalah too much because I've been speaking on it at length for like the past 5 days and I'm all Kabbalah'd out, if you will. But it's the Citra Acra.
Goodness plus time, Silas. Your goodness fuel ran out.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Well, yeah, and the Kabbalah has this all. This is, it's all programmed within the Kabbalah. All of this.
Oh, it is, yeah. I mean, it all is Kabbalah. Even Gnosticism's Kabbalah. All of it's Kabbalah, really, if you go back far enough. I mean, the Kabbalah itself, if you look into, oh God, Israel Regardi, he had a book. God, I forget the title of it now. It's in my notes somewhere. I made a note of it recently because I came across the book and I came across this quote within it, and I found it interesting. But he says something along the lines that the Kabbalah, literally Kabbal, meaning to receive, and in Hebrew that's the root of it. He stated that the idea behind that to receive was that they received this tradition, this I forget the word that he utilized, but it literally translates as the secret wisdom from Hebrew. And they received the secret wisdom from the Demiurge, from the Demiurgos. And they received it within the garden because they were the most elect amongst the early primordial humans. So the idea that you see in Kabbalah is effectively this constant wave pattern of life. The idea in Kabbalah is that God deconstruct. In fact, you actually see this in Genesis if you read between the lines. It's actually in pretty much every single religion and every creation myth. Again, if you read between the lines, is that within the tree of life, God started out at the canopy, the Keter, the crown, and he like the effects of the sun, and he deconstructed himself. And what we live in now is the Malkuth, which is the world, the monarchy, quite literally, but the world. And we exist within the roots. So God deconstructed himself, he killed himself, he sacrificed himself to thus create the world. similar to the sun, right? The sun sacrifices
Basically,
itself
like a
with us to create us.
fractal of light, like a prism.
Fractal of light.
Yeah.
A prism of light. This is why you have the rainbow is the sign of the covenant, because the rainbow is the prismatic fracturing of the white light. So it's all of these ideas it's orbiting. So the idea is that they have to recreate God, to become the Adam Kadmon, the primordial man, which is God. They have to repair God. They have to, again, tikkun, rectify God. So thus they have to almost ascend the Sephirotic tree of life once more to reach the Keter, or the corona, which would be the Latin term for it. Keter is the Hebrew for crown. So that's also the reason for the corona, VIRUS, in 2020. Again, these things are all ritualistically planned. In fact, most of American history is ritualistically planned. It's all of it was rituals. So, for example, the 1969 Apollo 11 moon landings, you actually see it in Nixon's address, where he states that man has made his nest among the heavens, or something like that. That itself is an idea of man actually ascending and colonizing the heavens. That man is almost incorporating the heavens into his domain. So, and then of course, just prior to that, you had the killing of the king ritual with JFK, which occurred on Dealey Plaza, which occurred on, of course, the three, it's known as the Psi letter, the Poseidon's trident. Poseidon literally means, from Attic Greek, the Lord of the Earth. And you have Shiva's Trishula, which is a similar shape. Shiva is creative destruction. Yahweh is a consuming fire. Yahweh is also creative destruction. He's the Lord of the Earth as well. And according to 2 Kings 21:7, his name is etched into Jerusalem. If you look at the topography of Jerusalem, it's in the shape of the letter Shin, which is equivalent to our W shape. So this idea itself is based around the trimorphic protonoia, the trimorph of the first thought. Trimorph meaning that it's in a sort of tri-form. And this is what you see with how Kabbalah states that the world came into being, how everything comes into being, which is firstly the Simsum, which is the contraction of light. And then after that, you have the Sheveret HaKalim, which are the breaking of the vessels, because of course it can't contain, the vessels can't contain the pure profundity and infinitude of course, the light. So they break apart. And then, of course, you have the tikkun, which is the rectification of that process. So it's the sine wave. You go from the beginning, the contraction pushes energetic disparity, pushes the sine wave up, the standing wave up. And then you have the Sheveret HaKalim, which pushes it down, and then the tikkun then pushes it back up again and again. It goes, yes, this is what you see with I forget where that comes from now. It might be the Rosarium, God, I forget the Philosophorum, which is a Rosicrucian piece of writing. I think it might be from there. But anyway, what you're seeing with that, not meaning, I've actually done a breakdown of this many years ago.
I figured you did.
On my Patreon account. But what you're seeing with that is that it's a self-consuming, self-generating feedback, bidirectional feedback loop. So again, like the Ouroboros, it's both pregnant with its own potential and it simultaneously consumes its own potential. So this is exactly what you see with subjective reality. We are both perceiving the world, the objective reality, but we're also projecting onto that objective reality through the lens of the mind our own perceptions, our own hyperstitions, our own beliefs, our own, we doctor reality itself, right? We could even talk about how you have the Draco at the top with the wings and the crown, and you have the Wyvern at the bottom with he also has the crown in this. Usually it doesn't have the crown, but the Wyvern at the bottom, that's the one that does not have the wings. It's the idea being that one is of course, the volatile and one is of the fixed. The Wyvern is that of the serpent's cauda, which is the tail of the serpent, which goes through the Ophiachian bowel, the bowel of Ophiuchus, literally the serpent bearer. And he looks to the east, right? Why does he look to the east? Because the east is the rising of the dawn, right? Because all of perception, like what I was saying, the teleology of reality itself is based around actually establishing demiurges, right? Turning us into demiurges. So we literally maintain the infinite cycle of reality and the perpetuation thereof. And then, of course, you have the volatile, which is the more air aspect. It's the heavenly aspect. It's the serpent's caput after it's went through the process of the Ophiachian bowel and comes out the other side, and it's crowned. Of course, you see it in Kabbalah. It mentions in several places in the Zohar, but primarily Vaera, and I'm going from the Ashleg translation. This is in the Pritzker edition as well, but I believe it's merged. Vaera, the chapter, is merged with Lech Lecha, which is the chapter prior to that. So this is what the Pritzker edition does. But it mentions that a star from the east, this is when the Messiah comes and basically the world ends and heaven and earth are remade anew within the 7th millennium, right? Well, this is just prior to the 7th millennium when that heaven and earth sort of renaissance occurs. This is the leading up to that point. The sort of everything you're seeing now, the destruction, Negredo, the putrefaction, the dark winter, the dark night of the soul, all of this notion. But effectively what you're seeing is that, in Vaera, it mentions that the star from the east, which is the serpent's caput, which has come through the waste of the bowel of Ophiuchus, the expenditure, right? The solar excess has been totally expended in that world age or epoch, and the serpent's caput comes out of it as the remnant, and that star from the east will eat the 7 stars from the north, meaning it's crowned by the corona borealis, which of course just so happens to have 7 stars. And corona borealis quite literally means the crown of the north. So this is the Ophiachian cycle. This is what you're effectively seeing. Funnily enough, this is what also the Hadron Collider and also the particle decelerator, and there's another facility at that place near Geneva, Switzerland, again, they're all shaped on these sorts of Ouroboros or circular loops, right?
Yep.
Because this is how this is how reality is structured itself. This is also known as the Merkava in Kabbalah, which is the cosmic structure. So again, everything is designed on the chariot to keep the wheels turning. And I've broke down that symbolism before when we've done these discussions. So yeah.
And the problem is, if they don't keep the wheels turning, what happens then? And I think that's what I've even heard, like not the economic hitmen type of documentary, but John Rappaport had a lot of interviews with people who claim to be in a similar line of work, social engineers who would create reality basically for other countries and put fictitious governments into place, false stories, and basically after a while you have a simulated reality around these people. And he admitted when Rappaport was interviewing him, like, that it scared him to think what would happen if they stopped doing that. Because at that point, there would be no one creating the culture around these individuals. And he thought
that's a bit of a, I think, Chris, and I know in my opinion, just my opinion, that idea that you're saying is a farce to me.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
It's a fallacy. Yeah.
But I will say the longer, like since 2020, like I've seen more and more of like, oh, damn, maybe if things weren't continually created for some of these people that it would just, their worlds would fall apart. They would have no, because as we were saying before, like just like that film, what is it, under the Silver Lake? Is that what I said it was? I always forget. Yeah, Under the Silver Lake. Like most people's realities are constructs. They're artificial constructs.
There's a strange also dichotomy there in reference to, like, to make a certain plants grow, you got to prune them to make them grow better, or a nice fire every now and again is actually somewhat healthy to future growth. So there's also this strange overlap where some of what is being said is practical and actually healthy and relevant, but it's weaponized, it's inverted into something else. And the ability to know the difference, I think, is paramount. Not to use no paras here.
Yeah,
our vision's clear, but yeah.
No, absolutely. Everything you're seeing in the world, all of the narratives, all of the hyperstitions, also known as hyper objects, everything that keeps us sort of pursuing or chasing, the horizon, if you will, right? Believing that we can catch it. These things are what are known as goads. Goad is the sort of the pointed rod of the shepherd that sort of beckons on the cattle. This is why you see in the Bible the idea of the iron rod or the flail, and that of the shepherd's crook. And it constantly talks about shepherding. Shepherding the lambs, shepherding the flock of God, and all of this, right? And it's telling you to check your brain at the door, right? The idea that knowledge is of a sin, it's sinful in nature, or what have you. Again, it doesn't say that in every single instance, in every single instance of both the New Testament and the Old Testament, but a lot of it is sort of discussing these ideas, and it's if it doesn't outrightly state it, it's implying that you should check your brain at the door, right? And the reason for that is because, again, if you're pushing on cattle, if the entire medium itself, which maintains reality, is chaos, is effectively motion, and this sort of discohesive force, right, to coin a term, then you have to maintain the whole. You have to maintain that medium, which is the motion, by of course sort of pushing forward the cattle through lies. But you can only do that effectively through, of course, terraforming their mind, right? Making their mind into a mindless machine, turning them into a sort of ghost in the machine, right? A mere phantom, a mere spectre, rather than having any agency. Yeah.
I feel like a good example of something, and Silas, you had mentioned we should bring this up earlier on WhatsApp, that a good example of something that sort of pushed people's realities and created realities for a lot of people who obsessed over this video was the I Pet Goat 2 video.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you want to share it and just play it, man, and
think they'll strike us or not?
Oh, they may. No, they actually may, because I did use the I Pet Goat 2 video in one of my.
Did you use it off YouTube? What if I do it off somewhere else?
I did use it off YouTube. Yeah, they did strike it.
Let me see if I could do it off of.
Well, it wasn't necessarily a community strike. It was more.
Just, copyright.
Yeah, no,
I don't care about
monetization.
I don't think this video is monetized. So.
Oh yeah, I think you can use it then. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me pull it up. Hold on, and I'll put it on like 2x for people, or 1.25 or something. That's reasonable. Where are we at here? Playback speed 1.2 is usually good. All right, we're gonna do this. How's that looking? I can't see shit. We good? Let me know if y'all can hear this.
Yep, we hear it.
Okay, cool.
So you could probably stop there, and I could talk it.
Fair use.
I'm actually trying to find, because I wrote up a load of stuff on this, but so I mean, right, okay, let's just do it ad hoc. So firstly, the first thing to mention is that the goat, you're only seeing one side of the goat. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason for that is because effectively the reason the entire cycle goes from Taurus or Aries, which is of course also the ram, and it goes through, of course, the zodiacal belt all the way to primarily again it goes to Pisces, and then if I recall correctly, then it goes back to Aries. But if you stop at Capricorn, you have a very interesting sort of idea regarding the enlightenment principles, or even the transcendence principle. So the Capricornian beast is effectively a sea goat, and the reason for that is the goat can ascend the fatal slope, the vertical slope of heaven, and of course the beast, the fish, the other side, the bottom of that is the animal of the abyss. So of course the idea is that the Capricornian beast can exist in both heaven and earth, right? He is this Homo Deus principle. The reason you have the box there is he isn't quite sorry, he doesn't have control, or he hasn't got reign over the abyssal state of Earth just yet, right? You also see as well, he's still just, of course, the goat, the silly, mindless goat. You also see as well, he has the bell around his neck. This bell itself is almost like he's controlled, right? His all of his movements are known to the system, right? He's exists in these subroutines. The box itself was, of course, a Saturnian symbol. You also see as well, before he lifted his head up, you saw the power on symbol. Now that itself is the notion of the Simsum, right? Of the contraction. So again, it's spirit contracting or being spiritually involuted into matter to again gain conscious evolution. And then right at the bottom, of course, you see the dog, and of course the drawing of the dog and the guard. The reason for that is, of course, these concepts are abstractions, they're images, they're not actually real. There is no real authority that the system has over oneself. You also see the snow as well. The reason for the snow is because in certain both the Norse and Hellenic myths, I believe the Roman myths regarding Hades or the underworld also state this, which is that unlike the sort of Christian ideas regarding hell or Hades or the underworld, according to these other cultures, were it was typified by coldness, by these mindless, stumbling, sort of despairing souls. And it was also based around regimentation. There's even ideas you see in the mythologies regarding Hades being this place where all the souls are regimented out into this sort of cold despair, So you also see that idea as well. There's connotations with the winter as well. Moreover, as well, you see up at the top, you see the 6 lights. So this is the idea that the sun there is no sun anymore, and that the sun has been artificially generated by the system itself. So this is the idea that they are artificially providing you the sort of semblance of if you will, the source vis-a-vis entertainment. The reason you can draw that connotation as, of course, there's 6 in number. So the idea is of course, that the 6 is connected to the cube. The cube obviously has 6 faces. The 6 is also the symbol of descent. If you were to stack 3 6s on top of one, or however many 6s, it creates a descending vertical spiral. And of course, it's linked with carbon, right? 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 photons. And then behind is the industrialization of Moloch, right? The expenditure, the wasteful expenditure of the fuel within the Athanor. The Athanor idea is literally means the tower furnace, right? So the notion with that is that it's a self-feeding furnace, which is similar, of course, to reality itself, right? You see the furnace and the crucible idea, and we are the fuel. We are the ashen fuel. So I think that pretty much covers it there. And of course, the barbed wire is this notion of sort of the curtailment of the spirit within these boxes.
You also have like the animal farm, the FEMA sort of camp. You have everything within that.
Exactly. And then behind them, you'll see the tree. So that's the idea that you'll see later on with the hanged man. It's this notion of the hanged man, quite literally in the tarot card, which is the idea that spirit is descended into matter, right? And it's going through this reincarnative purifying process. You'll also see as well that he has the barcode where his third eye should be.
Mm-hmm.
He also as well has his eyes are sort of an icy blue, again evoking the same idea of winter. And you'll see as well that of course it's going to have a spiral in motion around the eyes. This is the idea that he's entranced, but it's also the idea that he's, again, like the 6, he's descending. His spirit is descending into matter. It's descending into the confines of a subjective reality that's effectively captured by hyperstitional narratives, and narratives that are external or extraneous to his own mind. It's something to sap his agency.
Yeah, 100%. Ronan, you got anything you want to
add? Yeah, just a personal anecdote to this sheep. I remember I was in Germany and we went for a walk, and this like shepherd guy, he put up his temporary barbed wire fence, and he had his sheep, and then he had a couple awesome sheepdogs that were jumping up and over the barbed wire and herding these sheep into one, the lane, so that he could sit and shear them, shear off their wool or whatever.
Mm-hmm,
and I know it was just so interesting to watch that happen. And obviously it's surface level 3D reflection of what I'm seeing here, what we're decoding right now. So just want to throw that tidbit, but otherwise I'm just absorbing Silas. Awesome.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to what you just mentioned about they're basically like hide tanners. And hide tanners is something Plato refers to as it's like a metaphor for brainwashing in the Republic.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
He actually, I think he uses the sheep to and like the cleaving of their coats or washing of their coats and cutting off their wool as a means of basically describing the brainwashing process of the soldiers, I believe.
Well, yeah, bro. And like when it comes to tan, I automatically think of the Tanakh, and tan, linguistically is all across the realm, like Tana and things like that. So tan is a very interesting word, and just
when you even see it in the army, or when you go to sign up for one of the military industrial complexes sort of divisions, you shave your head.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And another thing to mention on, somebody mentioned the satyr in the box. Yeah, you also have Pan. So Pan in Greek means all. I mean, I could speak at length on Pan just alone, but the idea is that similar to the Devil Tarot card, right, which is the 15th tarot card, the way you pronounce 15 in Hebrew is Yah. So you have the connection to Yahoo or Yahweh, however it may be pronounced. Another connection as well is that, of course, according to, I believe it's Deuteronomy 33:2, if I recall correctly, it's in Deuteronomy 30, it's either 33 or 35, that those chapters where it mentions that, among other mountains, I believe there's 3 mountains, again, relating to the trimorphic protonoia. Effectively, Yahweh descended from Mount Seir. Why is that interesting? Well, because Seir itself comes from a word in Hebrew meaning quite literally the hairy goat.
Mm-hmm.
So Mount Seir is the mountain of the hairy goat. Now, the mountain's interesting in and of itself, as we've mentioned, the fatal slope. But the idea of the hairy goat, or even the Seir, ties in with the Hebraic or the Semitic equivalent of the satyr, which, of course, or the fawn, which were the Serim. The Serim are quite literally, from its etymological roots, mean the ones of Seir, the ones of the literally the ones of the hairy, the hairy goats, right? Or the ones of Seir. So you see this same connection there as well, right? That Yahweh or Yahoo was, again, according to the Gnostics, was the Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, the Sackless, the blind one, right? And of course, he is the world deity, if you will. And everything, all of the wars in the world are being done effectively under his name or by, for his cause, if you will. Then what you're seeing is that, in fact, everything is sort of pointing to him being connected to the goat. And another thing to mention is that Eliphas Levi, I believe it was Eliphas Levi, he created this reverse and obverse sigils. One at the top, again in Hebrew initials, was the Adam Kadmon, and it said Yeshua. Now the Adam Kadmon is this hermaphrodite. It's quite literally and usually is the case that it's an androgyne or a hermaphrodite that it's basically a man with male genitalia but with breasts, female breasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm.
And of course the face and what have you looks not necessarily effeminate, it looks very androgyne. So that's the Adam Kadmon. And then you have Yeshua round it in Hebrew letters. The one at the bottom is of course the pentagram. So that's the pentacle, and then we have the pentagram, which is the fallen star. And you have, of course, the goat, the sort of Baphometic goat, and around it you have the Hebrew spelled out in Hebrew letters, Leviathan. So it's the same idea. Leviathan itself is the concept of the entrapment of the subject within the object of reality, right? And by the subject's own mind, by weaponizing the subject's own mind against it. So again, we live in a sort of simulated Leviathan, or we live in the Leviathan, I should say. This is why in Kabbalah, when the world... Yeah, jump in.
You do know there's that Leviathan oil field that was shut down just in the last, I don't know, week, based on this whole...
outside of Israel, yeah.
Yeah, keep going. I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
No, there's no coincidences. Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. The Leviathan oil field. Oh no, there's no coincidences. Oh, absolutely not. But at the end, once the Mashiach comes, or the Messiah comes, and effectively, rectifies, purifies the entire world through holy fire, as stated. The Zadik, or the Zadikim, the righteous ones, they will eat the skin of the Leviathan. So the idea is that at that point, the embryo that they are will break free from the shell, and they will be reborn as gods, right? God-men or demigods. This is the idea. But everything you're seeing is based around that sort of goat concept. The goat is both, it's a wild one, right? It's hairy, it's unkempt. It is this sort of barbarous spirit that lurks in the heart of darkness. But it's something that can be tapped into, right? Because of course,
And in this video,
goat.
Remember, it's also I, pet goat, to not my. It's I, meaning it's you, like the viewer. You are the pet goat watching this.
Oh yeah, I forgot to even mention that. Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So the I and the two. So you have I and I. Mm-hmm. What that really is what you saw during again, American history is all ritualism, but you had, of course, the Gateway year of 2001 and the Gateway event, where the two towers fell. And by the way, that's also Kabbalistic. That was a prophecy written in, I believe it's either the Zohar or the Talmud. Might be the Talmud. I think it was the Talmud. I forget where anyway, but it mentions that there has to be 3 walls that collapse in Rome on the 25th of Elul, which is the 25th of the 6th month, which is calendrically impossible according to the Hebraic calendar. So the closest you could get was 2001 that year, which was the 23rd of Elul, which, was September the 11th in the Gregorian calendar. So there was 3 walls that fell in Rome: WTC 1, WTC 2, WTC 3. But the main event in there was the destruction of dualism and the reconsecration of the unity of the monad, right? Or of course of the ayin, the nothingness, right? The true God of the Kabbalist. So the void, quite literally the abyss. So that's exactly what you were seeing there, and this is what you're seeing: I to the I. And there's also a connection there in Sanskrit with pet goat. I'll try and see if I can find it in my notes. It's very interesting. Yeah, here we go. So, moreover, the title I, Pet Goat 2 is very important for another reason. Pet derives from the Sanskrit petika, which is feminine because matter is the divine and virgin mother that contains us in the womb of suffering, and this means box. So petika literally means the box in Sanskrit. So that's something I've never heard anyone, pick up on. So couple that with the truth that goat refers to the bestial and broken nature of man, the titanic fragments as sectioned upon the 12 zodiac, zodiacal wheel, which itself etymologically links to animals or a circle of animals, right? That's what zodiac means.
Yep.
Which is what this crucible is. The I, Pet Goat 2 can now be translated as I, the box of the beast 2. So basically, you're going from the I to the 2, right? You're going from unity, spiritual unity. Again, you're descending downwards, downworlds really, through the spiral to the 2, and the 2 is the most evil number, right? 11, by the way, is also quite evil, because it misses it skips over the 10, which is the number of completion.
Well, so, Silas, I got a little bit of difference on the number 11.
Mm-hmm.
Just in my opinion, just based on the Sibyls, it just comes to balance. Al, El, even. Just based on that alone is important. Now, they will skip over the 1 and 0. And the other one, 2, is interesting, being quote unquote 2 and 11 that you mentioned is funny. I always see the letter 2 as someone as prey, you know, because they're praying. It's like the letter 2.
Oh yes,
looks like
it
someone
does.
down
Yeah,
praying.
it does.
But
Yeah, it
I'm a
looks like
fan of
someone
11.
frustrated. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a fan of 11. I have a couple different. I think 11 is pretty great, not because of them, and because of what you're saying. Skip 9 and 11, skipping over the 10. 10, you know, there's a lot of ways to punctuate that. I get what you're saying. I just want to stand up for the 11s out there. Shout out 11s. And I don't love numbers, but you know, they are cold when you get numbers. But yeah.
No, absolutely. It doesn't have to necessarily be evil in you know, in terms of the fabric of reality, but it's just it's the way they look at these things. The 2 itself, again, the reason the twin or the dualism is quote unquote evil, and again, what's evil reverse but live. The reason it's quote unquote evil is because you see it's what really brings man down to this sort of confounding state of his own condition, which is that the idea that man is not one, man is actually 2. You know, at the minimum, right? We're not just a singular entity, a singular being. We're a being that's lost in a sort of fracture of our own selves. We're trying to find our own unity, our own soul, amidst the fractures of light between the steps up this ladder to heaven. So in that sense, you know, this is why you see, for example, in Hinduism, the Yama is the controller, this sort of devilish controller of the wheel of samsara. Yama itself in Sanskrit means twin. So he's associated with the 2 for this reason, right? Just purely for this reason, because it's duality, it's dualism. Again, this doesn't necessarily mean that dualism, I believe, is evil, as I've stated prior, but this is, of course, how it's seen. The devil's another idea as well. If you reverse devil, you get lived. So again, that links with the devil card as well, and in that sense, right? You see this connection between evil or between chaos and between life itself, which is an interesting sort of juxtaposition. So this is another reason they chose 9/11, because it skips over that 10. What that means is that with 10 you have alpha and omega, the beginning and the end. With 11 you don't. It's like the black sun. It's just this hollowed out world that continues forever. An age of fire and sort of infinite, perennial continuum, without, of course, the age of dark to balance it out. You know, to pull a sort of Dark Souls reference. So yeah, that's what I Pet Goat means in terms of the title. The I, the one, being divided through the box of the beast into the 2. So it's the reverse Ophiachian cycle.
Can we continue it?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay.
Oh, you can stop it there. Well, firstly, we have just prior to that, right? You have this sort of infantilization.
Yeah, what the hell? That was weird.
You have this sort of infantilization of the goat, as you see. It's obviously circling. It's looking prior to looking, you know, completely deadened and sort of anesthetized. It looked very alive. It looked shocked almost. Again, that's almost like the flash of conception itself, the flash in the pan, where it takes on life, and life brings it into this more lulled state, right? Because it becomes the subject that can be controlled by the reins. You also see at the bottom as well the sort of infantilized squares, or the cube, right? The cube is this controlling angularizing, almost artificial. It evokes this artificial nature in terms of most of the geometries. If I recall correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
12,
8,
right?
11. Yeah, there's 12 if you count the two, the I and the I at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11.
Oh, I was counting the blank
There's 11.
ones.
Sorry,
I
there's
was counting
11.
I was counting the blank ones too.
Ah, right. Well, there's 11 there. So again, you have the same yama. It's the idea that it's moving into the world of duality, right? It's going from the monad into the world of duality. The goat is effectively us. But if you add the of course the 1 at the beginning, and the two at the end, you get 14. The reason for that is the 14 pieces of Osiris, and of course the 14 relates to the hand, which is the instrument of the will, because there's 5 digits, but there's 14 sections between all of those digits. So that's also the reason for that too. Yep. Right, so this is one there, the hand of the Demiurgos and the marionette. Marionette has an interesting etymology, by the way. A marionette is like a puppet. It relates to Mary, and Mary or Miriam comes from the Hebrew meaning bitter. Now, the reason that is interesting is because it evokes chaos, it evokes the abyss, as we were talking about with the fish and the Capricornian beast, and the bitterness of the sea or the abyss comes from the salt, right? So the salt is a symbol of course, Earth. It's actually a symbol associated with the goats as well. The goats will climb the cliff face, vertical cliff faces, to lick salt from the deposits within the high up rocks. Again, because everything wants, even the beast of heaven, it desires earth, right? It desires the salt. It needs salt to live. And life itself, even though it's harsh, is the best thing for that which is, of course, exists within the pre-genesis of the primordial singularity. So firstly, we see on the hands, by the way, these are mudras. I forget the mudras that he's sort of indicating, but it's very Baphometic, the symbol. Effectively, the idea is that you have the two masculine elements, earth and air, fire and air, and then you have the two feminine elements, which are more of the sort of material of Malkuth, of the Shekinah, who the idea is the Shekinah left with the Jews upon their exodus, right, and still with them, and she needs to be reconsecrated once more with the bridegroom of Yahweh and so on and so forth. But she's of the material and the earth. This is the idea. That's of the water and earth. So you have the masculine and the feminine elements, and then you have, of course, the fifth element, which is in sort of Yahweh, you have the Yeshua, and the fifth element is the Shin. The Shin is, of course, the trimorph, which is the formula of birth, life, and rebirth, or Simsum, Shivrat HaKalim, and then Tikkun. He has as well on his there's symbolism surrounding what he's got on his index finger, on his right hand, and on his left hand with the ring finger. But effectively, to be very surface level regarding it, it's war.
This is a woman. This has to be like a hermaphrodite, right?
It is, yeah. It is. It's effectively the god of the Demiurgos, pardon, yeah, is bisexual. It's a bisexual god.
What the? I didn't ever notice this thing. That's weird.
It's also it's also a frog. It's in the shape of a frog. So
Yeah,
the
this
idea,
stuff, the
well, yeah,
scales, whatnot.
yeah, absolutely. The scales as well, yeah. This sort of reptilian or cold and different nature, this strange nature, the mysterious stranger. But the serpent is that of it's the staff of Asclepius. It's meant to be medicine, but it's this sort of idea of the inversion of that, which would of course be death, right? War, profiteering, pharmakeon.
Remember Erica Kirk's big old rings she was wearing at
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
So,
yeah,
Chris, I got Chris and Silas. I have to drop, bro.
You have to drop, you have to bounce.
Yeah. So but you guys keep going. I'm gonna listen, but it's getting late for me.
Oh yeah. I realize we're almost at 2.5 hours. You want to go a little longer, Silas?
yeah, we'll go like we'll just I'll just decode this one and then we can close it off for because literally we'll be here forever.
Yeah.
I've only done 30 seconds of this decode and I'm already at like 50 pages, you know. So we'd be here for all like, you know, a good week.
Yeah, we'll do another 10. We'll do another 10-15 minutes and then we'll dip out.
All right, man.
But you gonna bounce out now, Ronan?
Yeah, I'm struggling, and
yeah, I know, man. I know it's late over by you. I was later by Silas, but I know you usually are done by now.
Yeah.
So go get your rest, brother, and we'll talk soon. I'm so grateful that you came, my friend. I had a good time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Pleasure, man.
You guys were dropping serious knowledge, and Silas was crushing. I'm gonna re-listen to this later. I appreciate the chat. I hope I was able to add value. I was really digging this convo, and it felt real.
Always, bro.
Well, it had a nice flow, and I was enjoying it. So
great flow. We definitely didn't cover many of the topics we were hanging on, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So we will next time.
All right, later, guys. Keep going.
All right, later, brother.
Easy, man. Yeah, just really quickly, I've actually found it here. Yeah, we see on the right hand and left. We see the right hand and left hand here, each controlled by the black of putrefaction. You see that the scales and the black of the skin. But we see on the left hand the coiled serpent upon the rod, which indicates secrets or mystery. Also indicates, of course, pharmakeon, as I mentioned, and profiteering. It is comically in the unit sign of the dollar, as we've stated. On the right, we have the blood red, either wax or blood itself dripping from a ring or wax seal. And this is the idea that between the right and the left, right, you're in this constant battle. Kabbalah believes that Israel, if you will, is the pillar of knowledge, which is the middle pillar between the two. And it is this sort of middle place between the right and the left, right? So the right is of Chesed and the left is of Gevura. The left is cold intellect of the West, and the right is of the sort of spiritual passions of the East. And effectively what you're seeing with the wax and seal dripping down is this, again, wax was used to close letters and to seal them. So what you see is this sort of a loss of the sort of secrecy of the system itself. And the loss of the secrecy of the system itself is actually like what the frog suggests from its ancient Egyptian symbolism, is it suggests that that is the way that the system actually manufactures consent and maintains itself. So the revelation of the method is actually a pathway to the manufacturing of consent, because it establishes learned helplessness. Also evokes blood as well. Blood is this sort of plasma force within the body that passes through the body, life itself, and the information of that is integral to life. So you've got all of these ideas, right? Fertility, fecundity built within death, within the revelation of the method to thus establish consensus, to manufacture consensus. And then you have, of course, you also have death, the idea of the war machine with the blood. And then, of course, you have the profiteering. So these things, these two primary polarities, control, of course, all of the leaders below. They control the world. And you have, of course, the X. The puppeteer's reins are in the shape of an X, the Tav, the end, the terminus. So effectively, it's the idea of the retrocausal. The Demiurge is at the X, which is the end, the Tav, and he's controlling the leaders within his past, but our present, to thus establish, to maintain his dream, to maintain his reverie, to maintain his vision of the world. So you have all of these ideas linked into that.
I have to say that this also, there's something weird going on with the fingers and stuff here that makes me wonder almost if this was some of the earlier AI type of developments in video that we were being exposed to prior to its actual public release. Because, like, look at the way the fingers change into, like, now he has, like, or she, he, whatever the hell, the Demiurgic figure has, like, the nails are sort of hanging off, but then they're on the finger the scene before. There's a regular finger here. What the hell's going on? It's like they can't get the fingers right, just like usual.
Yeah.
It's weird. But let's keep going.
All right, well, we can stop it here in a minute. Yep, so we can stop it here. Right, so we probably won't be able to go any further because we literally will be here for probably another hour with the things at the back. So I won't even touch upon them, but we'll just touch upon the checkerboard floor, the pentagram, and of course Bush himself. Right, so as you can see, Bush himself is sort of dancing and play acting to the commands of the Demiurge, right? All of his hand signs are all mudras as well, right? I've got a list of what these mudras are. I actually can't find them in my notes. They're not actually in my main written set of notes on iPego 2. But you see everything that he is effectively an actor. He's a character. He's literally a vessel. He's a mindless vessel. And it's similar to what Augustus mentioned, the first emperor of Rome, when he was on his deathbed. He said, did I play the part well? If so, applaud my exit, right? Which is a rather interesting thing to say. Anyway, you see the dunce cap he's wearing, and it's in this sort of funnel shape. The reason for that is because, of course, that is the door, or the dalet. The dalet, in Hebrew, if I recall my notes correctly, is quite literally, it's the sort of doorway to the soul, right? And there we go. Yeah, so the dunce cap on his head, this links with the Hebrew dalet letter, which is the equivalent of the English D. Interestingly, from the Proto-Sinaitic script, the dalet means door, right? Thus, the funnel on the top of his head with the cylindrical geometry or shape is also indicative of the sun, is the dalet, or the doorway by which the spirit of the Demiurge may animate him, the puppet, into action within this world of Asia, or of course material action. Naturally, this is akin to us all. We are all but puppets to the essence of the Demiurge, the initial animate charge of existence. He is within the red glow of the lower points of consciousness, the lower vessels of existence, hence of course, the pentagram, which is the spirit facing downwards, the fallen star, and of course the male and the female facing upwards, the primary elements, which are fire and water. Oh God, I mean, there's literally so much to get into. We could get into the three ventricles at the back and how it's shaped in the W letter. By the way, if you look at Iran's crest, it also has the W letter. If you if you look at Ukraine's the trident, I forget what it is in Ukrainian now, that is also in the W shape. That's also the sigil of Moloch as well, by the way, interestingly enough, or it's very similar to it. So all of these things are connected to that. Oh, by the way, here's another one that most people don't get. There's a lot of them that are really quite interesting, quite easy to pick up on. But one of them is you'll see EVOLTN, right? It's the Hanged Man game.
Yeah.
And in its firstly, it's not love reversed, but it's also an anagram in Hebrew of Leviathan, which is the Leviathan, or quite literally in its etymological roots, the wreath of the torturous one. And of course, it's meant to spell out evolution, right? The Hanged Man is, of course, the idea that man is in this, again, like the tarot card, is in this descended state. You'll notice as well, if you just scroll back, and this will be the last one. I mean, there's literally loads to get into here, but if you look at the side, you'll notice that all of the various letters out of the sort of alphabet that are not seen there, pardon me, that are ajar, which are tilted, they spell out Zoe, and Zoe quite literally means life in Greek, and it's also where we get the term zoetrope from. And the zoetrope is, again, that illusion I was making reference to, which is it's a primitive animation machine, and it's designed to keep your head focused through the slits as you spin the carousel or the rotunda of the zoetrope. And within the sort of walls of the zoetrope, you have slits, and you have between those slits, pardon me, you can look in between those slits and you can see rotating round in motion these still images, and thus it establishes this illusion of animation. But if you lift your head slightly, tilt it up, of course you'll see that it's a complete farce. It's an illusion, right?
Yeah.
So all of this, so that itself is linked to that. Effectively, we live in a zootropic reality. Like Bush, they want you to focus upon the antics of politics. They want you to be entertained by it. They want you to be quite literally interacting with it, right? It's an attention economy in which we live in. That is what maintains the rotation of the zoetrope, and it's, of course, what maintains the sort of self-perpetuating cycle of the illusion.
I want to bring up one more thing, too, regarding the letter M that you were speaking about just before. Blavatsky, I believe, said that, I think she said it was the most sacred letter because it was feminine and masculine.
Yes.
Represented the androgen, so basically the Demiurge, the Baphomet, whichever way you want to look at it. And I think she related it to the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, funnily enough, just before we end here, the mem is the 13th letter. So
Yep.
The 13th sign is, of course, Lincoln with Ophiuchus. The M as well is also the statistical. It's the statistical form of what's called the bimodal distribution, which is effectively, you could describe it as a harvest, right? And that's what a bimodal distribution is in the agricultural sector. It's a harvest. So the M is the harvest. The M, I forget. It's of water.
Yeah, water symbolizes water.
The water, yeah. So again, if you look at the Epstein's temple, in the ceiling of the Epstein temple, again, you had the Boaz and Yakin, or the pillar of judgment, which is straight, and the pillar of Chesed, which is passion and energy, which motion, which is, of course, was spiraled, and there were 7 layers to that spiral, relating, of course, to the 7 planetary genii, from, of course, the sun up to Saturn, the black sun. On the ceiling, you had it going from Taurus, which is the earth. Again, remember in Mithras, which means covenant in Persian, you had the Tauroctony, right? Which is the sacrifice of the bull. Everything begins with the sacrifice of the bull. And then so the sacrifice of the bull is man's spirit coming from Polaris, which is the gateway of the souls, right? The portal of souls. Comes down into this is the belief, comes down into this world, involutes into matter. His spirit involutes into matter so that he can then, of course, consciously evolve. This is the same idea as Kabbalah repairing God. God deconstructs himself only for man to then repair God, for the cycle to continue over and over and over and over again. But it goes from Taurus in Epstein's temple, that ceiling, that mural on the ceiling, that zodiacal elliptical progression from Taurus all the way to Aquarius and Virgo and Capricorn. So again, it's the same idea that you're seeing in IPEC Go 2 from what we just went through. It's the Capricornian beast. That's effectively what they want to turn themselves into, which is the Homo Deus. They can exist both in the abyss of the earth, the bitter salt of the earth, and they can also exist as the goat, which is that they can lick the salt by ascending the fatal slope of heaven. So yeah, that's the idea behind, what was that, like 10 seconds? We'd already covered, God knows how many pages, if you were to write that thing down.
And remember that this was released by Alex Jones, I believe. He was the first one to premiere it.
Yes, yeah, that was way back.
So
in, like,
this
was
something to get people to actually subconsciously want Trump, because it was all. I mean, all of this has been. It's been meticulously designed to unfold in a way that seems natural to most normal people.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You also have a Venezuela. There's a scene in it where there's this South American individual, a worker with a flannel shirt and that, and he's being drowned in the oil, right? So, and you also have the oil dripping, right? Like, again, like what you're going to see with this Hormuz Strait thing, coupled with the Nord Stream pipeline destruction, and like what Ronan was mentioning, the closure of the Leviathan Basin. What you're seeing is effectively, it's not just the oil prices are going up, it's actually the supply of oil. That's the problem. That's the actual. A lot of countries are just going to run out of oil, and the epicenter of this will be in Asia. They're going to be hit the hardest, and you might see a few Asian countries just completely collapse because of this. I mean, before we go, let's just check the price of oil, because I'm interested. When I left, it was $113. $114 we're at now. $114. So it's just today, it's risen by almost 25%. So,
well,
yeah, interesting times.
It'll be a way for them to. It'll give them a way to bring about some other sort of event, whether it's and then introduce a new technology, or force everyone to use an old technology like electric cars. But I don't think the electric cars thing is going to work. I think they're going to present us with something else.
I think I may take up lumber, the whole lumberjack profession. I think that may make a return.
You can go Dexter season finale or series finale when he goes into the woods. Yeah, that might be the move.
Exactly, horsepower. Exactly, back to horsepower. Why not?
But I think we did a decent job today with all this. You crushed, as always.
Well, it was an interesting discussion, man. It was always a pleasure.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry for everyone who we wanted to come, and I know I did this last minute because I'm awful sorry to Silas that I had you up so late. But I'm glad we did it.
No,
And
it's all right, man.
we definitely need to plan another one soon. I know Balderson wants to do one with a bunch of us and one of his buddies, so I'm still waiting to hear back from him. But let's definitely plan another live soon, and we'll stick more on topic. I mean, I don't mind bouncing around, honestly.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
And let everyone know we're both streaming live, so you all know where to find him and me, Ronan's channels. Everything's in my description. And what's his name? Before the new guy you invited, what's his actual name? If he cares.
I don't actually know his actual name.
Does he have any YouTube or anything like that he would like us to share?
He doesn't, not to my knowledge, no. No, he's a fairly private guy.
Okay. Well, he's cool. So if he wants me to put something up to share for him, I have no problem. You know that.
Perfect, bro. Perfect.
But let's definitely talk soon, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Anytime. Right. I'm gonna
Get some rest.
No, I'm actually probably going to drive through and just probably sleep in the car park at uni.
Oh man.
But no, I do that anyway all the time. But it's the good thing is it's actually a bonus because I'll miss the traffic. So.
Oh yeah, I guess it's a benefit, right?
I usually get up at this time anyway, so.
and I want an invite to the wedding as well, by the way. So.
Yes, yeah. As long as World War III doesn't occur.
I don't think, I'm not buying I think that's we've been in that for a while, I think.
Hey, and if it does, we can still make it work. It will be a post-apocalyptic wedding.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Instead of confetti, it can be sort of fallout confetti. There you go.
Exactly. Or we could get a vault. We can get underground vault.
There you go.
And I'm Scottish. People don't believe me, but I do have Scottish in my blood.
I've also made you an honorary Scot. I have that power.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Perfect.
Right, dude. Take it easy, man.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, brother. And thank you, everyone who watched.